Okay, so we're back in Superlab, and I wanted to change a few things. I wanted to make a few things better, optimize a few things, and just kind of get rid of the other things that we don't really need anymore. So I was able to figure out what the problem was. I used a dual screen setup, so my windows were opening on the wrong monitor, which is why I look down constantly or up constantly, trying to figure out where the dialog boxes are opening. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of go through what we made yesterday and look at this and see how we can make it better. So what we'll do again, we press play. We don't save anything, and we'll run through it. So we have our instructions. Again, the text wasn't really appearing the way I wanted it to, so we're going to fix that. And as we go through, it's going to show us a word, disappears, and then ask us, was it a word or non-word? Hit OK. That's something. We keep doing this until we've exhausted all 30 stimuli that are in there, and then the experiment is done. Usually what you do is you will put something at the end of the experiment that says thank you or thank you for participating, just to tell them the experiment is over, because it's a good way for you and for the participant to know that they're done now. So again, you understand the idea about this. This goes on for 30 times, so we don't really want to see all that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that my instructions were kind of in accordance with what Cedrus, the company that makes Superlab, what they had actually set out to do. And in doing that, I realized that I had made a few mistakes that I really wanted to make sure that I point out today, as well as say why they're mistakes and why we should get rid of them. So the first thing is, if we look at this file structure, or we look at this event structure rather, we have fixation, stimulus, and response. So there's a couple things that was happening here that is kind of in the background that getting rid of it should help us out. So if you remember when we had our data file, I'm using a white background, that's why I keep disappearing. If we have a fixation cross, right, it's showing it for, we're going to make it short, we're going to make it 500 milliseconds instead. So right now we have it as recording this response in the data file. And what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to go through the data file and make it so that it makes more sense, instead of having to, okay, delete these 7 columns, get rid of that, get rid of this. Just don't record the fixation cross in the data file. That takes care of that right then and there. No need to worry about it. Because when they see the cross, they can't respond in the first place. So whatever reaction time or what you're looking for doesn't really matter in that sense. So let me go over to stimulus, and there's an important thing that I didn't do last time. We have to reset this reaction timer. So what it's going to say is if we don't do this, it's going to be recording everything from the onset of a trial. Or the first event in a trial, rather. So if you remember, in our experiment, we have the fixation cross of 500 milliseconds. We just changed now the stimulus and then the response. So what that means is that the fixation cross, if I had that for, let's say, 2 seconds, and the stimulus they showed for 1,000 milliseconds, now we're already up to 3,000 milliseconds. So by resetting this timer, it's saying that every single time an event is shown, reset that timer. So you make it to 0, so the person presses, let's say, A in 500 milliseconds, that's what they're getting, as opposed to 500 plus whatever else they had before. It's a very important part to note. It's easy to not include that, and then you end up kind of having results that don't make too much sense. So we're going to change something here as well. So right now we have this after a time limit. We're going to say after correct response, get rid of this, and then well, I'm going to go back to that in a second, and hopefully we can hopefully see why. So if we think about this experiment, just kind of taking a step back, and we think about, I'm going to show you a word that you recognize, a word you don't recognize, and then you can respond to that. If I show you a word for 500 milliseconds, and then you can respond, your reaction time is not really linked to that initial onset to begin with now, because I've shown you something else entirely. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this response. We're just going to say don't worry about this response at all. This way, what we're going to do, we're going to show them the cross, then the word, and then they're going to have the option to respond to that. And that should hopefully, one, make our data collection a lot easier, and also make data interpretation a lot easier, because now we're getting rid of variables that we didn't even need before. So we're going to change another couple of things about this. So over here we have this. That's good. Now, correct responses. We're using a stimulus list again. So we're just going to say that the correct response is one or more of the following. And then what we'll do is we'll just go over to this, And we're going to hit on the first one. I'm going to do shift and then go to apart, which is our last word. So one or more of the following, these are words. And then we're going to start at thal and go to apart, one or more of the following. This is non-word. And if you scroll the list, you should see that it does see what's a word, what's not a word. So that, good. Now last time we had also made a tag set. No, we didn't. Okay, never mind. So what I want to do is I want to now just run through it again and just see how different it is. Okay, so this makes some sense. Now, if you notice, well, you can't see, but right now I'm pressing L, which is the non-word button, and nothing is happening. So we want to see why that is. We want to have the option for them to be wrong, right? Because if we don't do that, then what's the point? If I go back into this, again, the response to this is going to be one or more of the following. After a correct response, okay. We'll try it again. Again, we're probably going to try and mess up. So notice that I can't advance with that. So let's see why that's the case. So what we do is we just look at our menu options and we see what's happening. Why are these things not? Why is it not working in the way that I'd like it to? So I changed a few things last time. We'll go through that again. But what I want to do is now I just really want to see what about that is not working. What I did before is I already changed a few things. Right, so I changed a few things to see what's happening. Let's see. Okay. Not too sure yet. That's okay. Okay. So I figured out what was happening. Basically, what's happening is that in this option, when I tell it that the correct response is going to go on to the next thing, and we've defined these things as being this is correct, this is correct. What that means is that for something, let's say for cramped, cramped is a non-word, which means that it recognizes L as being the correct answer. So if I press A, nothing will happen because A is not correct, and our input says only advance this if a correct response is issued. What we're going to do is we're going to implement something else. We're going to look at feedback now. We're going to say that we're going to put in feedback, so when they get the answer correct, it will show them that they're correct, and when they're incorrect, it'll say try again, or nice try, or but sarcastically. So what we're going to do is we're going to add two new events. Call this one correct, and then we'll call this one incorrect. And we'll link this in. We're just going to leave these events by themselves. One other thing I wanted to mention is that, just kind of jumping back for a second to the instruction part, I didn't like the way this was set up here, so we're going to fix that. I figured out how to fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's say this, and now it looks better. And I'm also going to change this. Remember, I said that I didn't like the way it was phrased because it was saying if you see a word, press this. If you see a non-word. So what we're going to change it to instead is if you recognize the word being shown, press A. And then if you do not recognize the word being shown, press L. We preview this, looks okay. I'll probably actually let it go a little bit more than this, so it kind of wraps around better. Okay, that's better. That's probably as good as we're going to get without me spending too much time on that. So again, I'm going to go into input. I'm going to make sure we don't record this response because there's no response to record except for the advancement, but that doesn't do anything for us, so there's no point in having it. So now in the stimulus, we're going to go to feedback. And we're going to say if the response is correct, and then we're going to say over here, I want you to present an event. In this case, it's going to be correct. And the next one, nope, sorry, the same thing. The correct is not correct. I want you to present event incorrect. All right, so then incorrect, what we'll do is we'll just type in text that can say anything. It can say good job, nice try, whatever. So right now we're just going to say good job, exclamation point. We'll go into settings and we'll change this color to being green. And then incorrect, we'll change this color to be red. And we'll say wrong. So what that should do is that should say that if the word is a word and you answer it correctly, it'll show you the correct screen. If it's not, it'll show you the incorrect screen. Now we'll go through and we'll see, okay, is that the case? So money is a word. Good job. Okay, cool. And now it's staying there because we never told it how to advance, right? So now we have to go out of this again. And you can already see, just like I was saying yesterday, that you do a lot of this kind of back and forth to make sure that what you're actually creating is what you're trying to. So incorrect, what we'll do, we'll go in here and we'll say input is going to be, or time limit, we'll just say 1,000. We'll say 500 actually. We'll see how fast it is. We'll do the same thing for the incorrect. We'll run it again. So cockle, not a word. Good job. Okay, cool. Ball, not a word. All right, cool. Speak, a word. Then we'll just test it out to make sure that it works the way we wanted it to. Okay, so that's really cool. Okay, we give participants feedback. There are ways to kind of force them to get it right. So imagine that we had something like this, and we'll change it right afterwards. But if I say the response is not correct, I could add another action to then restart the trial, actually. So we'll see what that looks like. So if I go over here, so now we have local, and I'll say that's a word. Grant, okay, I'm doing a really great job so far. I'm on fire. And then I get this wrong. It shows me it again. Now, what will happen is it'll keep showing me this forever until I get it right. We wouldn't really want that. This is why inside of the trial option there are rules, supposedly. Oh yeah. So if it's due to feedback restarted, then this says, okay, only do it twice. This way you don't show it 100 times. But we don't really want to have them redo it. We just want to have the option there that they can see feedback. So go back into our feedback, and we'll just go to response is not correct, and we'll just get rid of this little thing over here. So I think it'd be cool if we had a way for participants to actually see how many they got right and how many they got wrong. This way, you could even record this. If you were looking for a quick way to visualize, and you could say, oh, they got this many right and this many wrong, you could do that. So we're going to do over there, that's looking at something called a parameter. So we'll make a new parameter, and we're going to say it's going to be a counter. And I'm going to make 2 of these because we're going to need 2 of them. And this is going to be number of correct responses. Then I'll copy this. And then just change this one to number of incorrect responses. Okay, so it's going to have an initial value of 0. Number of correct responses will have an initial value of 0 again. Perfect. Now back in stimulus. It's going to show this, and then it's going to add an action and increment counter by 1. In other words, the counter starts at 0, they get 1 right, now it's 1, they get another 1 right, now it's 2. Then we go to responses not correct, add another action. And now what you could do here is you could do a couple of things. You could make it so that you could actually decrement the counter. So if you're looking at number of correct responses and you answer 10 right and 2 wrong, I could show you 10 right, 2 wrong, or just 8 right. For the purpose of just kind of instruction, I'm going to do increment counter as well, just so that you can visualize both things. It's going to number of incorrect responses by 1. Now it's important that we do something here. So one, we have to actually create a new event, and we'll just call this response summary. And we're going to leave this just kind of blank for the moment. And then what we'll do is we'll go back into stimulus, and then we're going to go over here, and then we'll go to feedback, and then say add action, present event. Nope, so we're not going to do that at all, actually. Never mind. You'll see why in a second. So then in response summary, in stimulus, it'll be text, and we're going to go to insert parameter, and it's going to give us these 2 over here. So we're going to say number of correct responses, and then we'll go down here, and then we'll say number of incorrect responses over here. The $ is just how Superlab looks at the variables. And then I'll just say correct, and incorrect over there. We'll change this so that it's unbiased, and we'll just make it black. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit our list for a moment, just so that it's not 30 of them. We'll go back to our list, and what I'll do is I'll click over here, and I'll just say this is going to be a smaller list. All right, so we'll have our smaller list. We'll go back to our stimulus, and we'll select everything there, put it in here, and now what we'll do is let's just make it so that there's 6. We don't want the same ones. We'll do that. We have 6 items, okay? We'll go back to stimulus, and then we'll just change this to reflect that. So right now it's using the stimulus. We'll just make it use the smallest instead. And then what we could do is we want to make sure it's going to show us 6 things. We go into experiment, and it will say it's going to result in 6 presentations, so that's exactly what we want. Perfect. So what we should see is we should see the following. We should see it show us the cross for 500 milliseconds. We should see a word or non-word appear, and if we press the correct response, it will show us nice work, and it will add 1 to a counter in the background. If we press if we press an incorrect response, so let's say if the word is a word and we press non-word, it'll say wrong, and then we'll add a counter in the background again to this number of incorrect responses. And then when that's done, it'll go to this response summary. This requires a new block though. So we're just going to call this one response summary. And link this to this. This way it won't show us until we're actually ready to see that. So let's just give it a shot. We'll do the full thing. And we'll actually save it too. So save this, and we're going to call this LDT full run, even though it's not really a full run because we neutered in some of the data. And then we'll just call this test save. You can see all my new test on the background. So it's showing us this on the screen. I like the way the text is spaced out. Again, this could probably be broken up a little bit further, the beginning part, but that's not really the point right now. It shows us this, so fover, not a word. Grant, not a word. Exist, a word. Ashu, not a word. Heavy, not a word. Let's mess one up on purpose. Shall is a word? What are you talking about? Okay, so correct is correct is 0, incorrect is 6. Perfect. Okay, so let's see why that did that, but I don't know why it thought that was correct. Those were wrong or correct. Look at our response summary really quick and just see what we have selected there. So correct, yes, number of correct responses and number of incorrect responses. Now let's go back to stimulus and we'll go to the feedback tab and just make sure that that's actually the right thing as well. So feedback, okay, this is why. So when it's correct, we should be showing the number of correct responses by 1, and then same token, when it's not correct, we should be showing the incorrect responses by 1. Okay, perfect. So let's just try this one more time, just to make sure that it worked. And then we'll save it as well. So we'll call this one hopefully right. You gotta have fun, right? You gotta laugh. And then name it the same thing. Okay, again, I like the way the text is laid out. We could do some more kind of, manipulating with it, but at the moment it doesn't really make too much sense to. So exist is a word, good, fover is not a word, ashu is not a word, shall is a word, and then we'll just do one wrong. Yeah, see, it said that was, okay, so it's saying that every single thing is correct, and that's not right. Well, it's not correct. So stimulus. Actually, first let's make sure. Yep, okay, there it is wrong. So stimulus, correct response, feedback. When it's not correct, show this event, increment this counter. Okay. So it's always good to kind of look at these things and figure out, okay, why is this? Oh, that would do it. Now, remember, what I had done before was I had just taken, I'd taken 6 random things out to test those as opposed to testing all 30. And I didn't tell it actually what I wanted it to do with them or what to assign it. So I just thought everything was correct. So we're going to try this again. And I got a good feeling about this. 8,000th time is a charm. Okay, so I'll go here. We'll do it again. Replace when we have. Okay, good. Exist is a word. That's great. Fover is not a word. Grant is not a word. Shall is a word. Okay, perfect. Heavy is a word. Then we'll just do one more that's wrong. Oh, sorry, we didn't. Okay, so correct 5, incorrect 1. That's exactly what we want to see. All right, so now what I want to do is now I'm going to then saving data error codes. With incorrect, we could just say ink. That way that we know what it is. Right, no response, let's just leave blank if we can. Don't need the block name, trial name, we don't need the trial number, we'll have the event name, correct response, and then that's good. Okay, that's good. Now what I want to do is now I want to do a full run so we can kind of make just a better way to look at the files afterwards and make sure that they're actually doing it for the whole thing as opposed to just a portion of the thing. Ah, that's fine. So in Superlab, what I should have done, I should have made this correct thing not record the response. Because what it's done now is now it's made it so it's not terribly difficult to get rid of. It's just annoying that we have to. Link these together. Thank you for your participation. The experiment is now finished. Then change input to not record this. And then just go back. We don't want to record this at all. We don't want to record that. We don't want to record that. We want to record this. But we don't care about that at all. Okay, cool. So let's do another run through, another quick data setup, and then we'll finish this video. The next video will focus on how to do similar things in Superlab, looking at variability, looking at other parameters, and more of that, using images, using different stimuli, kind of just going on with that to see how much you can really do. So block 1, and I will call this Dave 2. And again, Dave 2. All right. So let's see what we have now. So bring up Excel. So let's just look at this way. Let's say average reaction time for a word. And then we'll just do an average, but we'll just select the values ourselves. So we're looking at this, and then this, and this, 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 But that's the idea, that we have this, and then this is what we'd be looking at, right? And one person, this would not be enough to make any claim from. But that's Superlab. So the next video will be about more about Superlab, more about the functionality of using different stimuli, using variability as both time and color and location, position, all these things. But that's the general gist. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back soon with some more content. Be good.